Brendel, Tim Adams here in the Linder Center. A little Miami week preparation, the Victory Bell, and you look at this Miami team. They're struggling a bit right now, Tim. They have had some issues their first 2 weeks. They had a bye week last week, but it's not a good football team right now.
Struggling a bit would be putting it mildly.
I was trying not to be inflammatory on this, the beginning of the video at least, but things are not going well.
No, they're last in offense. They're last in not only are they last in defense, but they're 60 yards behind a game, 60-yard average behind the next worst defense, which is really, really bad. They haven't scored an offensive touchdown in 6 quarters. I don't remember a Miami team statistically being this bad this early.
Well, usually, if you've got a bad offense, the defense is okay or middle of the pack. If
and
you've got
they usually have good defense.
Or if you've got a bad defense, the offense is okay or in the middle. You don't see very often a team at the bottom of both rankings in FBS football.
Now, these guys obviously did a lot of things right to ascend to the positions that they had.
Yeah.
And I give them a lot of credit for that. The one thing when I look at Miami, though, that befuddles me is they've gone to a run-oriented offense.
They're using the option.
Yeah, Coach Tuberville talked about, when I saw him against Kentucky, I saw him in some flex bone stuff where they had 2 wing backs on each side. And I don't understand why they're doing that, because they've got a quarterback like Austin Boucher, who's a senior, a fourth-year senior. As a redshirt freshman, he came in at the end of the year when Dysart was hurt. He won 4 straight games at the end of the year, including the MAC championship game against Northern Illinois, where he threw for over 300 yards. He also, the GoDaddy.com Bowl that year, threw for 311 yards and was the MVP. He had an offer late. It was late. It was in January 27th. But he had an offer from Ohio State as a high school senior.
He was a guy that they were kind of getting him in even when Dysart was healthy at times.
He did play a little bit. I think his passing the last 2 years was only maybe 8 to 10 passes, but I would have thought maybe they figured they can't protect him, and so that's why they've gone to this big the last game they had, not last week, the last game was against Kentucky. They were up behind 31-7 at halftime. Now in the second half, you'd think they would come out and throw the ball and try to lengthen the game. You know what they did?
They shortened.
They still ran the football. They ran the football 16 times and passed it only 8. And I don't understand that. If you're 3 touchdowns more behind, you got to lengthen that. And you got a kid that has shown he can throw the football. Now you got the Austins. You got Austin Gearing, who was the freshman that they're playing, and he was offered here at Cincinnati, but as a flex tight end, not as a quarterback. So when he comes in, they basically run the football. He's got 1 pass in the 2 games, and then Boucher has also thrown it less than he's run it. So they're kind of a hard team to figure. The best player on their team is their punter, Zach Murray.
That's never a good thing.
That is not a good thing, and he's #1 in the country by a lot. Kings High School, a kid that was really, really talented. I think this is his 4th year. And Kings had trouble getting somebody to come in and look at him. But he's averaging like 49 yards a punt.
I saw him at a high school game one time doing tricks as a place kicker. And he lined up at the corner of the end zone, at the back of the end zone, and he was kicking field goals from the back corner of the end zone, arcing them between the pipes.
Wow.
It's pretty impressive.
That is.
For Cincinnati, what are you looking for out of this game? Obviously, health. Keeping guys healthy is a big thing, but offensively, defensively, what are you looking for the Bearcats to do as they get up to Miami?
Well, I think the key for Cincinnati is going to be to get on the board early. I think if you can get on the board early, #1, it plays right into your hand. These guys apparently want to run the football, so you get on top of them. Yeah, you get on top of them. That makes it more difficult to run the football. And they've already gotten shellacked twice, so it's the kind of woe is me attitude that maybe would happen over there. Momentum. We know that Cincinnati travels well to Miami. There'll probably be a lot of Cincinnati fans there that will get behind the Bearcats if the Bearcats can get on top early. So that would be another big advantage I think Cincinnati has when they play Miami on Saturday.
Defensively, guys run into the football. Obviously, you got to stay disciplined against the option. But a chance to maybe get more of those 3 linebacker sets. You don't have to go into the nickel as much because they're not looking to throw it around. And guys like Temple and Luke and Blair and even Cassius and the second unit guys, a chance to run to the football and make plays.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I'm a little baffled by Miami. In most options, you want a guy, a burner back there. That if he gets the edge, he's gone. And I don't know that they've got that guy. Coach Treadwell's son is one of the guys. He's not a burner. Jameer Westbrook, who Cincinnati offered when he was a sophomore, but sort of backed away when they saw him. He didn't really progress. He's not a burner. And then you've got a big kid like Austin Gear. I just wonder about his health. He's 6'5".
Yeah.
Now, that's
Running
a lot
the
of,
option.
you can't get behind those pads, and he's going to take some hits. As a linebacker, seeing a 6'5" quarterback coming around,
gigantic target.
Yeah, so I think they got their 14 points in the first half against Marshall, and I think Marshall wasn't prepared for them to run the football like they've run it and to use the option. But now, the other thing that's crossed my mind: would Treadwell, with a bye week, change his offense now? Would he go back to throwing the football and say junking everything that they worked for the last 12 months?
I mean, potentially, you almost have to do something. If you're last in FBS in offense, don't you have to sit in it? Your responsibility as a coach? And to your job that you're probably not going to keep if you continue to be last in offense and last in defense, to look at things and say, maybe we need to do it a little different?
I don't know, but the other side of that is if you're running the option, I've always thought that's a full-time practice job. You can't dabble in the option offense. You have to run it all the time, and the teams that run it well run it all the time.
Yeah,
their guys don't have their quarterbacks don't have sore arms; they have sore ribs. So would they change it? Would it look like panicking if they changed it? I mean, he's 4-8. He's 4-8, and now this year he's 0-2.
They're going to struggle to win a game the way they're playing right now.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know what the Macs got at the bottom end and what their schedule looks like. They got Illinois next week. That will not be pretty.
No.
Well, at least that's going to be a challenging game for them. Let's put it that way. I don't want to disparage them because I think Miami's had a proud tradition. But I, as an Ohio University graduate, I'm tickled to death. See the Bobcats up there and the Miami Redhawks or Redskins, whatever you want to call them, down at the bottom.
We got a bye week coming up next week. So are we going to get together here and then just talk about random things, or are we going to talk about how Cincinnati matches up against bye?
We were perfect against it. We haven't lost a game. I don't know. We haven't
won a game either, though. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's true.
Have not beat bye in history. Haven't lost, haven't won. We got to figure out a way to get a W.
Yeah, we'll have to have an organizational meeting to determine how we're going to handle our first bye. We're going to have some other ones too.
Yeah.
Because they've got some midweek games where some other weekends are going to be off. So we'll have to figure out how we're going to handle that.
And for these video features, this isn't it. We've got some exciting stuff coming up here in the future as well. If you want to tell them about that.
Right. Yeah. Just before we started this preview, we had I don't know how many minutes was that with Coach Hiller.
We only have 15 minutes to put a YouTube clip up. That might end up having to be 2 pieces because you guys
talked for quite a while.
Well, you got into some really good stuff, and there's some really good information in there that I think people are going to like. So the first in our line of interviews with assistant coaches, look for that next week during the bye week.
Right. So he did a great job, and I think people will enjoy listening to. I've been just totally mesmerized by playing 8 and 9 offensive linemen. I think it's brilliant, and we talked a lot about that and how that can work.
Well, and I found out this week exactly why you turned the recruiting side of the business over to Sam. 2 commitments in a week for basketball. For me, I was on overload. You guys get 25 commitments a year, and if not more in football. I don't know how you keep up. And you decided you didn't want to keep up anymore. Let's let the young pup do it.
Yeah, my life's been a lot better. But I dabble in it now. I don't do it all the time.
So prediction for the Miami game? Bearcats big?
Yeah, I think it's going to be another big win. I'll be the Bearcat. If the Bearcats can win, it'll be the 8th one in a row. Up until this streak, there'd never been 5 in a row. I think 5 was the high-end mark, and they're going for their 8th win in a row now. So the Bearcats have dominated this rivalry. I think it's going to continue.
All right. For Tim Adams, I'm Chad Brendel for BearcatJournal.com.